question for you. Do you believe in a comeback? We have Barcelona facing Atletico Madrid again in the second leg of the Champions League. Clearly, they lost the first one. Do you think that they can come back, bro, overturn the result? And if so, I mean, what are you expecting, dude? Like, do you expect anything different? I mean, I know we are, but yeah, just give me your thoughts.
Yeah, dude. So, I do want to start with, the mistakes from the referee, right? So it's easy to just focus on the mistakes from the referee that he made in that game. But I also think that we need to go ahead and start realizing that Barca needs to stop making these kind of mistakes in the knockout stages of the Champions League, bro. If they don't stop making these mistakes, there's just no way that they're going to be able to win another Champions League. So I wanted to go ahead and point that out. And then second, do I believe in a comeback? I do. I do because the way I see it is two legs, and the way I see it is like two halves, right? The first leg is 45 minutes, the second leg is the second 45 minutes. So if you were to ask me, can Barca win the game if they're 2-0 down at halftime? I would tell you, yeah. So the same thing, I'll tell you yes right now. I do think that they can come back. The only thing I do want to see is can Barca make less mistakes than they have done so far in the Champions League. And also, I want to end this by saying that I want to see the energy that Ferran Torres had over the weekend. I want him to bring that energy on Tuesday. And I want to see what he can do on Tuesday against Atletico Madrid. That's where I want to see him.
Yeah, dude, I agree with you, especially with Ferran Torres. He had the audacity to go ahead and shut us up and say that we're talking too much. He said that, dude. And he said that the goals he scored are for the haters because, they love to see him down. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, well, you know what, dude? I mean, you scored against the Espanyol, right? I mean, no pressure from there, bro, because let's not forget that Real Madrid tied up, right? During their league game, dropped more points, meaning that now Barcelona just literally had to go there and win the game. But no, I want to see what Ferran Torres can go ahead and do in a second semifinal of the Champions League. I want to see if he can go ahead and then score two or three goals. Don't give me you scoring against mid-table teams, and I'm not dissing Espanyol, but what I'm saying is the pressure is no longer there. That's the truth. The pressure is going to be on Tuesday because technically speaking, where were you on last week? It's a game. When you subbed in, I don't even know if Ferran Torres had one shot on target, bro. Hell, I don't even know if he had one shot. So let's see what happens, bro. I want to see what happens, and I do believe in the comeback as well. I think that if Barcelona can go ahead and score one goal in the first 45 minutes of the game, I think they can go ahead and then overturn the result. They may not overturn it in the full 90 minutes, but I think they can go ahead and go to extra time, or if not, penalties as well. So let's see what happens, bro. Because in my opinion, like I said, I think it's so easy for certain players to go ahead and talk about the fans, and say that, the fans talk too much to criticize you as, again, speaking about Ferran Torres, right? But I'm sitting there thinking, damn, this guy, he has no shame. He has no shame whatsoever because let's not forget, bro, you are, and we keep saying that, both you and I keep saying this, you are one of the top 10 players at Barcelona. You've had multiple chances to solidify yourself as a starter in that team. Why? Because Barcelona have chosen to let go of Ansu Fati on loan twice, right? They have chosen to go ahead and let you be the backup of Lewandowski, right? And then Xavi gave you his trust, and now you have Fleet giving you his trust. You have Luis Enrique in the Spain national team giving you his trust. And what the hell have you done? That's my opinion. That's my question right there, dude. What has he done? So I want to see what he does. I'll pressure on him, and you know what? Since he has the audacity to go ahead and say that he feels no pressure and etc. Okay, let's see what you do Tuesday. Yeah, let's see.
I agree, dude. I think that if a player like Ferran Torres, he has this delusion that for some reason everybody's just against him, and the reason why people are criticizing him is because we somehow just want to be against him, then I don't think he's realizing that he really is shit, and that's the truth. And and the thing that kind of worries me, bro, is a player like that being at Barca, it's that what's gonna happen when Barca want to get rid of him?
Mhm.
That's the real question, bro. Like if Barca were to ever want to get rid of him, the guy in his peak delusion, he's gonna think and he's gonna believe that he belongs there, and he's gonna refuse to leave.
I
That's the
agree.
reason why. That's the reason why, even if the rumors that came out, right, that Barca are looking to see if they can get a good offer for him, and they'll probably sell him. I look at those rumors and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't doubt if the club will probably try to get some money off of him, but I do not think he'll want to leave. I think he'll refuse to leave because he believes that he belongs there in his mind. So yeah, I want to see what he does. I want to see what he does on Tuesday, bro. I want to see, if he's able to bring that energy. But I can guarantee on anything, he's not gonna do anything, dude. We're not gonna hear anything of Ferran Torres against Atletico Madrid because he always does this. He scores in these games that really don't have any pressure. The only game where he scored where there was pressure was, I remember, was the final in the Supercopa. Was it the Copa? No, the Copa del Rey final last season against Real Madrid.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the only time. But that was more like a Courtois mess up, in my opinion. And then he scored that goal. But that's it, bro. Besides that game, there's been no high pressure game where Ferran Torres has showed up or has scored where we're like, damn, this is what we're talking about, a big game player. Nope, can't think of any.
I agree with you, especially, the fact that, like I said again, I'll say it again, he cost Barcelona 55 million, and he didn't only just cost Barcelona 55 million, he cost a broke Barcelona 55 million. And
Yeah,
around that time, bro, 55 million, even in today's game, should be able to get you, in my opinion, a good player. I don't know if the exact number that Atletico de Madrid paid for Lookman, but in my opinion, I look at Lookman, I'm like, hey, you know what? He's a real winger. He plays pretty good. I don't even know how much Bayern paid for Olise, right? And we can go ahead and talk about Olise being a good player for Bayern Munich. He proved it against Real Madrid. So I agree with you, right? And I think that what annoys me too is the fact that, going back to my earlier statement about me stating the fact that he's been given multiple chances, bro. The guy hasn't even been able to bench a 38-year-old Lewandowski, bro. And me and you can go ahead and talk about Lewandowski, right? Because I'm pretty sure fans can go ahead and give their take. But the truth of the matter is, bro, Lewandowski's a 30-year-old player, right? So do we expect for Lewandowski to go ahead and score 3 goals, 2 goals, even hell, a goal every game? No, we don't. But we do expect a 24, 25 Ferran Torres, who cost Barcelona 55 million, who's in the top 10 paid, players in Barcelona, to go ahead and do more than what he's been doing. Not just these 1 or 2 goals here and then. Dude hadn't scored for 15 games, bro. I think it was 13 to 15 games. I can't remember the exact number of games, but he had to score between 13 and 15 games. And he's over here talking about that we talk too much? Yeah. Okay, buddy. Okay.
but like I said, bro, don't worry. He's gonna shut himself tomorrow, so you don't have to. You don't have to worry too much. You're gonna see him. You're gonna see it, bro, because it never fails. I'll be shocked and surprised if he scores 2 or 3 goals against Atletico Madrid. I'll tell you that much.
And you know what's funny is that you told me something and it's true. I hadn't thought about it like that. Where you say, it's funny because he goes ahead and gives these stupid ass interviews, just this way he celebrates stupid right when he scores a goal. Not really realizing that he is pretty much creating more pressure for himself because come Tuesday, just as me and you are, a lot of these fans, just as you mentioned to me, right? What are they gonna expect from him?
Oh yeah,
What are they gonna expect from him? Yeah, dude. So
he's
let's see what
gonna.
he does.
He's putting more of a target on himself because there's gonna be more eyes on him now. Because a lot of the
Yeah.
Barca fans are gonna be looking at him to see what he does. And if he doesn't fulfill the expectations, guess what? He's gonna have a lot more criticism coming his way. So he better be ready for it. Because I can guarantee you, bro, he's not gonna do anything tomorrow. I'll be shocked and surprised if he does.
Yeah. Whatever, bro. Well, enough of Ferran Torres. Me and you usually, bro, when we talk about Ferran Torres, for some reason, I think it's a trigger point because we go on and we can go like 40 minutes talk about details of Ferran Torres, right?
Yeah.
But enough about that average ass player, dude. Let's go ahead and move on to the lineups real quick for this, upcoming game. And you know what? Actually, bro, let's go back real quick to your earlier statements, right? Because I kind of want to break down more into detail regarding the fact that it's so easy for fans, for both you and I even, to criticize the referee's performance, right? Whether if it's as you mentioned, right, the red card, giving Kubarsi the red card. And obviously, I think for me, another thing that I saw is I can't seem to remember that Atletico Madrid's defender's name, but he plays in the national team. I think Olamendi or something like that, right? I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But he did a tackle on Lamine Yamal, right? And it was that's what led up to the free kick. And just to kind of refresh your memory, is the free kick that Rashford kind of shot good in my opinion.
Hmm.
But with that being said, the ref didn't book him, that defender, right? But I don't know if you know this. If he would have got booked for that, if for that challenge, he would have missed second leg's game because of overbookings.
Yeah.
So that was, in my opinion, too, where it was certain calls that he didn't call. Koke fouling Olmo, right? Right in the beginning of the game. And I'm like, who's cracking him? Like, dude, give him a yellow already, right? And then, of course, um, the biggest one, in my opinion, alongside the red card, is the when, the Atletico Madrid player touched the ball with his hand. And, it should have been a penalty and a red card, in my opinion, right? If we go based on the rules of the game. So just to kind of like give my opinion of all that, bro, and this is kind of adding to your thought, right? Is I agree with you what you said because I think time in and time out, right? I think that this is why I kind of sometimes don't like the fact that a lot of teams have this like this behavior of like, well, if we didn't really perform as good as we should have, let's go ahead and kind of try to get away from the criticism by blaming the referee, right? And then the whole headlines becomes about the referees. We've seen it time in and time out, not just from Barcelona, but we've seen it from Real Madrid fans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Just example real quick is what happened against Real Madrid and Mallorca, where this player pretty much kind of threw his hand back and he popped Mbappe, right? People were like, "Oh, that should have been a red card." So you people don't really focus on in my opinion, the horrible season the Real Madrid are having, but they want to go back and just focus on the refs, right? So during this game, the first leg of the Champions League, a lot of fake people were talking about like, oh, it's because the referee. Yeah, it's a referee. Yeah, you could say had a bad game in my opinion, but come on, bro. As Barcelona, bro, players, in my opinion, you shouldn't be depending off. Oh, did the referee have a good call? Did he make a bad call? I think you should be focusing on your performance. And I think both you and I can agree, bro, that in the first half, at least for me, Barcelona came pretty much asleep. No energy. They weren't pretty much playing good. They weren't connecting. They seemed as if they were already beating Atletico Madrid 4-0. They seemed as if they walked into the game thinking like, oh, we're gonna bag Atletico Madrid, we're gonna beat them, we're good. So I think that me, if I want to be critical, I'm gonna be critical of players, right? Or not even just players, individual players. Besides, if we're talking about Ferran Torres, but as a whole, right? Barcelona players, the mentality of coming into the Champions League quarterfinals and knowing that the kind of performance that you have to put, I think it's something that Barcelona have to stop doing. Pretty much performing like how you mentioned to me before, with a chip over their shoulders, like as if like they're playing, but they're playing with this whole immense pressure. It's pressure, of course, but you're Barcelona, in my opinion, right? And let's not forget that Barcelona last season made it to the semifinals of the Champions League. So I would have thought that what happened under Valverde, what happened under Luis Enrique with Juventus, and even with Guardiola, for example, at the end of the season, and even with Xavi, could have been maybe buried under the rug already or semi, given what they did in the Champions League last season. But here we are again, bro. Here we are again, and we're looking at Barcelona time in and time out make mistakes. So I will be critical of Barcelona's first half performance in the first leg, and I think that Barcelona needs to stop doing that. I know I talked a lot, bro, but that was just my opinion, and I'm pretty sure you have your own take. So yeah, let me know.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree with you, dude. I remember, we talked about it over the weekend, right? And I told you that, um, when a lot of people say, oh, Real Madrid turned into a different team, or they're like a different animal in the Champions League. And then I look at Real Madrid because, we see Barca face Real Madrid every season, at least twice every season, right? For the league, and if not
Hmm.
even more, for the Copa del Rey, they face each other, or the Super Cup, right? But then I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about because I see this Real Madrid that Barca face, and to me, it's not like a different animal. It's not this animal that people or the teams they make it seem to be, right? So I never, thought about it, and I was like, nah, I think that's just the players choking, the players just not being able to step up. But then I look at Barca, right? And then I look Barca in the Champions League, and they do transform into another team, but in a negative way, you know? So then I'm like, maybe it is true. Maybe it is true that maybe certain teams, they just kind of transform into a different team, either in certain competitions or in certain stages. For example, Arsenal right now towards the end of the Premier League, right? Where they're just struggling, they're just a completely different team. And then you're like, where the hell is the Arsenal that was, at the beginning of the season where they were all confident, full of confidence, winning their games, playing their game, right? Why can't they do that now? Same thing with Barca, bro. We look at Barca in the Champions League, especially in the knockout stages, and then we're like, why is Barcelona over here just making stupid mistakes? Why are they just like they look like they're playing like if they're already three down or four down at the beginning of the game, where they're just playing with a lot of pressure. They're not making their passes are not smooth. They're overthinking it. They're making a lot of hasty and fast decisions in the final third, not connecting well, making silly mistakes in the back, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm starting to believe that maybe some teams do transform, you know, either the positively or negatively in either a different competition or certain stages of a competition. But with that being said, I do agree with you that it's easy for us to go ahead, as fans to just point out and make it all about the mistakes from the referee. It's easy to do that, but if you really look at the bigger picture, bro, Barca, this is not the first time they've done this. Like you said, right? They've been doing this for quite some time already, where they kind of seem to go into these knockout stages asleep, half asleep, and thinking that it's just another regular league game. Even if it's Atletico Madrid, bro, which they face a lot in the league, they go in and they don't match the team's intensity, energy for some reason. So yeah, I think like you said, I think it's time for Barca to just kind of, get over that state of mind that they're kind of in the Champions League knockout stages. They got to overcome that, bro. They have to overcome that because if they don't, then they're gonna keep on getting knocked out of the Champions League. Either quarterfinals, out of the semifinals, or even if they get to the final, they're gonna lose the final. They're not gonna be able to go all the way if they just don't play their game like they usually do in the league, you know? So yeah, just wanted to go ahead and point that out, Barca need to go ahead and be able to overcome that and then, the whole transformation, right? Because I see that a lot of people they always talk about Real Madrid in the Champions League and how they transform into like a different team or a different animal in the Champions League. But yeah, just wanted to
Yeah.
go ahead and that was just those were my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what happens tomorrow, bro. Before we end this video, I do want to say, what do you think about the Ronaldinho jersey, bro? They're pretty sick, huh?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's nice.
These are the retro ones. The obviously both you and I got them, but these just to kind of give a quick detail. These are the ones that were pretty much brought back, from Barcelona during the 2005, 2006 season, and they were only pretty much I think 7,000 sold worldwide, if I'm not mistaken, right? Both you and I,
Yeah,
dude, we were on the app, Barcelona official website, trying to get them, and luckily we did. We succeeded. But honestly, I like the jerseys, bro. I think they're pretty cool. It's good for the collection, in my opinion, and I like it. I think it's pretty sick, bro. The long sleeve and everything. I think it's pretty nice.
yeah. It just kind of reminds of Ronaldinho, huh? Ronaldinho at the Bernabeu, or even in the Champions League, bro, against Arsenal. That's what it brings back to me the memories.
I agree with you, bro. Obviously, this is Ronaldinho's retro, and when we think about Ronaldinho, we think about Ronaldinho smiling at the Bernabeu, getting applauded actually by the Real Madrid fans, and scoring a hat trick, for example, juking Sergio Ramos, and even what he did for Brazil. So, I think obviously Ronaldinho, like me and you have mentioned, is probably the reason both you and I started liking Barcelona, right? And then we
Yeah.
learned the history from there, and then we got the chance to see Messi, obviously not right now with Lamine Yamal. But yeah, I mean, I like the jerseys, bro. And just a quick question. Do you think, bro, that they'll ever do a retro jersey for Ferran Torres?
Now I'm crying that crap, dude.
I think they'll write right here, shark mentality.
Nah,
Oh man, dude.
I would love them to eventually do a retro one for Messi, bro. Maybe like the '09
I
one or
agree.
maybe the 2011, 2010, 2011 one or even the 2015 one. That would be nice.
I would like the 2007 though, was when he scored the Getafe goal. I think that one would be sick. I think that's when he was wearing number 30, right? Or 19.
I think he was wearing the number 19. But that one, it's yeah, he scored that goal, but if you really think about it, like I think the '09 one has a little bit more history on it when it comes to Messi because that was when
Yeah.
Messi was really coming up. Pep Guardiola's very first season at Barca as well. They won the treble, the first ever treble. So I think that one has a lot of history. And also the 2015 one does too, bro. MSN, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yep,
So
100%, 100%.
yeah. But real quick, I wanted to tell you, like, do you think Flick is gonna make any changes to the lineups? Do you think he's gonna go ahead and
Um,
maybe do you think he starts Rashford or any other player that you may think he may start?
I'll be honest with you. I think that he did a good. I think I like Rashford's game, bro. I didn't mind Rashford's game, so I think he's gonna go with Rashford. I was a little bit surprised that he started Olmo over Firmino, in my opinion, in the camp position. But I think that this game he's probably gonna start Olmo. I'm sorry, Firmino, and I wouldn't doubt if he puts Dani Olmo as a false nine again, and of course Lamine Yamal. We do have Frankie the Junk coming back alongside Pedri. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure that's gonna be the middles. Kubarsi got the rest, so I think we're going to see Martin and Eddie Garcia as center backs, and then I think that we're going to see Joao Cancelo because if you see the game against Espanyol for Balde, dude did not have a good game. So white touch Cancelo, and then in my opinion, I think he's going to go with Koundé or Araujo. I think so.
I agree. I agree. I do think he's probably gonna start Lewa though, because he rested Lewa over the weekend. So he might go with Lewa as the
Yeah.
number nine. And I would want him to go with Fermin because
Yeah.
Fermin he's gonna give you a lot of energy and pressure in the final third that you need.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, bro. I don't know if Le was the right person to play for this game. The reason why is because
Yeah,
Atletico Madrid is gonna close the gaps, bro. They're
that's
gonna close the
true.
freaking gaps. They're gonna
That's
do the.
true.
They're gonna bust the Inter. They're gonna bust the Inter from Mourinho's Inter. Remember? So
Yeah.
we'll see. But real quick, I believe in the comeback, bro. If Barcelona score one goal, I think we're in.
Me too, dude. Me too. Like I said, I think the way I see it, just to end the video, I think the way I see it is if you were to ask me, right, let's say Barca playing a full 90-minute game, and then by the end of the first half, they're down by 2 goals, would you ask me, hey, do you think they could come back in the second half? I would tell you, yeah, I think they could. It's just 2-0 down.
Yeah,
And what's the most lying result there is in the game? 2-0, right? Because it gives you the
a
illusion,
2.2 game lead.
yeah, it gives you the illusion that you're there, but then the other team, all they need is just one goal. So, yeah, bro, I think they can come back. They have the ability to do so. The problem is, how many mistakes will they make in the back? How many goals will they concede? That's the question. So if they have a good game defensively, I do think that they can overturn the result, bro. Even like a 3-1, I can see go to extra time, or even a 4-2. I can see that happening, dude.
Yeah, let's see what happens, bro. I'm sure we'll have our discussion about the after the game. The one thing for sure is I do want to see Madrid get eliminated, though.
Oh yeah, bro. Honestly, dude, I would be shocked and surprised if Real Madrid get past Bayern. I would be really shocked because you know what, bro? I think, man, I don't want to go ahead and talk too much, but I do think that this is a good game for Bayern to slap Real Madrid by 4 or 5 goals.
I agree with you, bro. 100%.
Mm.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens against, for Barcelona. And we'll tune in.
Yep.